Some of the funniest people in the room are fighting the quietest battles. You've seen them. They're the ones who make everyone laugh at dinner, the ones who break the tension in meetings, the ones who turn awkward silence into comfort. They seem light, effortless, unbothered, and somehow nobody ever asks them if they're okay. There was a man the world adored for his laughter. He filled stages with energy. He filled movies with joy. He could improvise brilliance in seconds and make millions feel alive. That man was Robin Williams. Behind the brilliance, there was depression. Behind the rapid-fire jokes, there were silent struggles. Behind the smile, there was weight the world never fully saw. When he passed, people said the same thing over and over. How could someone so funny be in so much pain? But maybe that question misses something important. Maybe humor and pain are not opposites. Maybe sometimes they grow from the same place. Humor can be light, it can be healing, it can be connection. But sometimes it is armor. Sometimes laughter is not an expression of joy. It is a strategy to deflect, to soften, to survive. Maybe you've been that person, the one who makes the joke before things get serious, the one who says, "I'm fine," and adds a smile so no one looks deeper, the one who turns personal stories into punchlines. And maybe you don't even realize you're doing it, because when humor becomes part of your identity, it no longer feels like protection. It feels like personality. People praise you for it. You're so funny. You're always positive. You make everything better. And slowly, without meaning to, you become the one who carries the emotional temperature of every room. You become the relief, the distraction, the entertainer. But here's the quiet truth. When you are always the one who makes others comfortable, no one thinks to check if you are comfortable. When you are always the strong one, no one imagines you might be tired. When you are always laughing, no one expects tears. And over time, something subtle happens. You stop knowing where the joke ends and where you begin. Because if humor is the shield, what's underneath it? Who are you when you're not performing lightness? Who are you when the room goes quiet? These are uncomfortable questions, and that's exactly why they matter. This isn't about shaming humor. It's not about telling you to stop laughing or become heavy. Humor is powerful. It's intelligent. It's creative. It can be resilience in its most beautiful form. But when humor becomes the only way you relate to your pain, it can quietly isolate you. You can be surrounded by laughter and still feel unseen. You can be admired and still feel unknown. You can be loved for your light and still hide your darkness. Tonight, we're not here to criticize the smile. We're here to understand it. We're going to explore the psychology behind people who use humor to hide pain, where it begins, why it feels safe, what it protects, and what it costs. Because real strength is not about losing your humor. It's about knowing when you're using it to connect and when you're using it to disappear. And maybe, just maybe, you don't have to stop being the funny one. You just have to stop being invisible inside your own laughter. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Birth of the Funny One. No one wakes up one day and decides to hide their pain with humor. It doesn't begin on a stage or in front of an audience. It begins in quiet rooms, in subtle moments, often long before a person understands what they are doing. In many families, roles are formed without discussion. No one sits down and assigns them. Yet somehow, everyone knows. There is the responsible one, the sensitive one, the achiever, the rebel, and sometimes there is the funny one. The funny one becomes the emotional temperature regulator. When tension rises, they make a joke. When an argument starts to form, they exaggerate something silly to interrupt it. When silence feels heavy, they fill it with playfulness. At first, it looks harmless. It looks charming. It looks like personality. But for a child, humor can become something far deeper than personality. It becomes strategy. Imagine a child growing up in an environment where emotions are unpredictable. Maybe one parent is quick to anger. Maybe another withdraws emotionally. Maybe conflict lingers in the air like a storm that never fully passes. The child feels it. Children are extraordinarily sensitive to emotional shifts. They may not understand adult problems, but they understand energy. They notice something important. When I make them laugh, everything softens. When I act silly, the tension decreases. When I distract them, the storm pauses. And the brain forms an association. Humor equals safety. Laughter reduces stress hormones. It changes facial expressions. It resets social tension. For a child who feels powerless in a chaotic environment, that shift feels like control. And control feels like survival. So the pattern strengthens. The child becomes hyper-aware of emotional cues. They scan faces quickly. They anticipate discomfort before anyone names it. They sense tone shifts instantly. They develop timing. They become fast, clever, perceptive, not because they crave attention, but because they crave stability. Humor becomes a tool for regulation. It becomes a way to prevent danger, even if the danger is only emotional. Over time, this role solidifies. They are no longer just someone who occasionally makes jokes. They are the funny one. Relatives reinforce it. Teachers comment on it. Friends expect it. You're always so positive. You're the life of the party. You make everything better. The praise feels good. Approval feels secure. The nervous system learns that laughter brings connection, and so the role deepens. But beneath the surface, something quieter develops. Often, the funny one is also the most emotionally intelligent person in the room. They feel everything. They detect subtle discomfort. They notice when someone is hurt before that person speaks. They understand how fragile emotional spaces can be. Yet instead of expressing their own feelings, they manage everyone else's. Their attention goes outward. How can I lighten this? How can I reduce tension? How can I keep things smooth? This outward focus becomes identity. And here is where psychology becomes important. When love feels connected to performance, the mind adapts. If being entertaining makes you accepted, you begin to equate humor with belonging. If being light prevents criticism, you associate playfulness with safety. Self-deprecating humor often grows here. A child learns to joke about their own flaws before someone else can point them out. If they say it first, it hurts less. If they laugh at themselves, others laugh with them instead of at them. It feels like control. And in childhood, it may truly be protective. But adaptations created for survival do not automatically evolve when the environment changes. What protected you at 8 years old may quietly isolate you at 38. Because adulthood requires something different from childhood. In adult relationships, constant humor can create distance. If every serious moment becomes a punchline, if every vulnerable sentence gets softened with sarcasm, intimacy struggles to form. People may love your humor. They may admire your lightness. They may feel energized around you, but they may not truly know you. And that difference matters. The funny one often carries a silent fear. If I stop being this version of myself, will people still stay? If I am not entertaining, am I still valuable? If I am quiet, am I still lovable? These fears are rarely spoken. They are rarely even conscious, but they influence behavior deeply. Identity built from survival carries pressure. Pressure to always be on. Pressure to maintain the mood. Pressure to avoid heaviness. When the room grows silent and you do not fill it, discomfort appears. When someone asks a serious question, the instinct is to deflect, not because you do not feel deeply, but because feeling deeply without armor feels exposed. The irony is powerful. The funny one is often deeply sensitive. They understand pain well, they understand awkwardness, they understand discomfort, yet they rarely turn that same compassion inward. They know how to soothe others. They do not always know how to sit with themselves. This chapter is not about blaming childhood or labeling humor as unhealthy. Humor is intelligent. It is adaptive. It is creative. For many, it was a brilliant survival response. But survival mode is not meant to be permanent. At some point, growth asks a gentle question. Is this role still protecting me, or is it preventing me from being seen? The birth of the funny one was not accidental. It was strategic. It was perceptive. It was brave. But adulthood offers a new possibility. You can still be funny. You can still be light. You can still bring warmth into a room. The difference is this: you no longer have to earn safety through laughter. And that shift begins not by abandoning humor, but by understanding why it was born in the first place. Chapter 2. Humor as a defense mechanism. Not all humor is the same. Some humor connects people, some humor protects people, and some humor hides people. Psychology has long recognized humor as a defense mechanism. In fact, compared to other defenses like denial, aggression, or withdrawal, humor is considered one of the more socially acceptable ones. It looks healthy, it sounds intelligent, it even earns admiration. But the question is not whether humor is good or bad. The question is, what is it protecting? Defense mechanisms are unconscious strategies the mind uses to reduce emotional discomfort. When something feels threatening, rejection, shame, sadness, vulnerability, the brain acts quickly. It does not ask for permission. It seeks relief. For many people, humor becomes that relief. Instead of saying, "That hurt," they say something witty. Instead of admitting, "I feel insecure," they laugh at themselves first. Instead of sitting in awkward silence, they make everyone else comfortable. This is not manipulation, it is regulation, but regulation can become avoidance. One of the most common forms of defensive humor is self-deprecating humor. It sounds humble, it sounds charming, it sounds self-aware. I'm a disaster. I'll probably mess it up. Don't expect much from me. Everyone laughs. It seems harmless. But beneath the joke, there is often a subtle strategy. If I lower myself first, you cannot push me down. If I expose my weakness before you notice it, I stay in control of the narrative. It feels safer to laugh at yourself than to risk someone else doing it seriously. Another form is sarcasm. Sarcasm is clever. It creates distance. It allows someone to say something true, but indirectly. For example, instead of saying, "That comment bothered me," someone might respond with exaggerated humor. "Oh, sure, I love being criticized. It's my favorite hobby." Everyone laughs. The moment moves on. But the emotion underneath remains unprocessed. Sarcasm becomes a socially acceptable way to express anger without appearing vulnerable. Then there is deflection humor. This happens when conversations become emotionally intense. Someone asks a serious question. The room grows quiet, and before the feeling can settle, a joke interrupts it. It sounds like, "Let's not get dramatic." "Okay, who invited the therapist? Can we go back to something fun?" The shift happens quickly. Humor changes the emotional temperature. And while that can be helpful in the right moment, when it becomes habitual, it blocks intimacy. Because intimacy requires staying. Staying in discomfort. Staying in seriousness. Staying in truth. Humor moves the spotlight away from the self. And for someone afraid of being fully seen, that movement feels safe. But here is the deeper psychology. The nervous system does not distinguish between emotional exposure and physical danger very well. When someone feels emotionally vulnerable, especially if vulnerability was unsafe in childhood, the body reacts as if there is threat. Heart rate increases slightly, muscles tighten, breathing shifts. The brain searches for escape. For some people, that escape is withdrawal. For others, it is anger. For the funny one, it is humor. Humor becomes a fast exit. It is socially rewarded, which reinforces it. No one criticizes you for being funny. In fact, they appreciate it. So the behavior strengthens. But defensive humor has a cost. When emotions are repeatedly deflected instead of processed, they do not disappear. They accumulate quietly. Imagine a glass of water. Each unexpressed emotion is a drop. A joke may temporarily shake the glass, but it does not remove the water. Over time, the level rises. This can lead to emotional exhaustion. The person may not even know why they feel drained. After all, they are laughing, they are engaging, they are socially successful. Yet internally, there is tension, because part of them is always on guard, always scanning for moments that require a joke, always ready to redirect intensity. There is also another layer. Identity protection. If someone has been known as the funny one for years, changing that pattern feels risky. If you suddenly respond seriously where you once joked, people notice. You're quiet today. Wow, that's serious. Where's your humor? Those comments may seem small, but they reinforce the role. The message becomes clear. We like you this way. And so the mask stays. But here is something important. Using humor defensively does not mean you are fake. It means you learn to survive socially. It means at some point, vulnerability felt dangerous. The mind adapted intelligently. The problem is not that humor exists. The problem is when humor becomes the only emotional language available. Healthy humor can coexist with vulnerability. Defensive humor replaces it. Healthy humor says, "This hurt, but I can see the irony." Defensive humor says, "This hurt, but I will not let you see that." The difference is subtle but profound. One allows connection, the other maintains distance. So how do you know which one you are using? Pay attention to timing. If the joke comes immediately after something uncomfortable, it may be protective. Pay attention to feeling. If you feel relief after joking, but also slightly unseen, it may be defensive. Pay attention to repetition. If serious conversations rarely last long around you, humor may be interrupting intimacy. None of this requires judgment. Awareness is enough for now. Because once you see the pattern, you have choice. You can still use humor. You can still be light. You can still bring joy into rooms. But you can also pause before the punchline. You can let one honest sentence exist without covering it. You can allow someone to respond to the real emotion, not just the performance. And that small shift changes everything. In the next chapter, we will explore something even deeper, the fear beneath the humor. The fear that if the laughter stops, acceptance might stop with it. And that is where the real healing begins. Chapter 3. The fear of being truly seen. Behind defensive humor, there is almost always a deeper fear. Not the fear of failure, not the fear of embarrassment, but the fear of being truly seen. To be seen is to be known. To be known is to be exposed. And to be exposed, for some people, once meant being hurt. If vulnerability was ignored, mocked, punished, or dismissed in childhood, the nervous system remembers. Even if the conscious mind has moved on, the body holds the pattern. So when someone asks a real question, how are you really doing? Did that hurt you? Why did you react that way? Something tightens inside. There is a split-second decision. Stay or escape. For the person who uses humor to hide pain, escape is smooth, elegant, socially approved. A joke, a playful exaggeration, a witty redirection. The moment shifts, the room relaxes. No one pushes deeper, but what just happened? An opportunity for connection quietly closed. The fear beneath this pattern is often invisible. It sounds like this. If I let you see how much that affected me, you might think I'm weak. If I show you how sensitive I am, you might lose respect. If I admit I'm struggling, you might not know how to handle it, and you might leave. So humor becomes camouflage. You stay visible, but only partially. People see your personality, they see your energy, they see your timing, but they don't see your ache. And over time, this creates a strange experience. You can be surrounded by people who enjoy you and still feel profoundly alone. Because connection requires depth, and depth requires risk. When someone constantly diffuses seriousness, relationships remain surface level. Conversations stay playful. Emotions stay filtered. Even romantic relationships can feel slightly off balance. You may be adored for your lightness, but unseen in your heaviness. And heaviness is part of being human. There is another layer to this fear. Identity. If you have always been the funny one, stepping outside that role can feel destabilizing. It can feel like breaking a contract you didn't know you signed. People expect your humor, they anticipate it, they rely on it. So what happens if one day you respond differently? What happens if instead of joking you say, "That actually hurt me"? Silence may follow, not because you did something wrong, but because the script changed, and change feels uncomfortable for everyone. For someone whose nervous system equates comfort with safety, that silence can feel dangerous, so the pattern repeats. Back to humor, back to ease, back to control. But here is the hidden truth. Being seen does not require losing your humor. It requires letting someone see you without it, even briefly. The fear of being seen often connects to shame. Shame is the belief that if people saw the real me, not the entertaining me, they would find something lacking, too emotional, too needy, too intense, too much. So humor regulates how much of you enters the room. You control the dosage. You give people your wit, but not your wounds. You offer laughter, but not longing. And yet, there is often a quiet desire beneath it all. The desire to be known without performing, to sit in a room without having to manage it, to be quiet without someone asking, "What's wrong? You're not yourself." Because maybe silence is also you. Maybe seriousness is also you. Maybe depth is also you. The fear says, if I stop being entertaining, I lose my place. But maturity reveals something different. Your place was never dependent on performance. It was dependent on presence. Presence is not about energy. It is about authenticity. And authenticity feels risky only when your early experiences taught you that being real was unsafe. This is why healing this pattern requires compassion. You are not dramatic. You are not fake. You are not attention-seeking. You adapted. You found a way to navigate emotional spaces efficiently. You learned how to keep things smooth. That skill is powerful, but it becomes limiting when it replaces honesty. The turning point comes with awareness. Notice when someone asks a serious question and your first instinct is to joke. Pause. Notice the slight discomfort in your chest. Notice the urge to redirect. Instead of immediately escaping, try something small. One honest sentence. Not a speech, not a breakdown, just a sentence. Actually, that did bother me. I laugh about it, but it was hard. I don't usually talk about this, but you may feel exposed, but exposure is not the same as danger. In healthy environments, exposure leads to connection, and connection is what the nervous system was seeking all along. Humor is not the enemy. Avoidance is. The goal is not to become serious all the time. It is not to remove your light. It is to expand your emotional range. To be funny when you want to be funny. To be deep when you want to be deep. To let people see you not just as the entertainer, but as the whole person. Because when laughter is the only language people know from you, they cannot respond to your silence. And sometimes, healing begins in silence. In the next chapter, we will explore what happens when laughter consistently replaces vulnerability and how that slowly shapes relationships over time. Chapter 4. When laughter replaces vulnerability. There is a difference between sharing a laugh and hiding behind one. Laughter can bring people closer. It can create warmth, soften conflict, and transform pain into perspective. But when laughter consistently replaces vulnerability, something subtle begins to erode. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. Vulnerability requires stillness. It requires slowing down long enough to let emotion breathe. It asks you to remain in the room when the air feels heavy. Humor does the opposite. Humor accelerates. It shifts energy. It moves attention. It creates relief. Relief feels good. Relief feels safe. But growth rarely happens in relief. Imagine a moment where someone you care about says something that stings. Perhaps they criticize you. Perhaps they forget something important to you. The feeling rises. Disappointment, maybe even hurt. Instead of saying, "That actually hurt," you smile and respond with something playful. "Oh wow, thanks for that. I needed the confidence boost." Everyone laughs. The moment dissolves, but the hurt does not. It goes underground. When this becomes a pattern, vulnerability never gets a chance to exist. Emotional honesty is replaced by emotional choreography. The performance continues, but the truth remains unspoken. Over time, relationships adapt to the version of you that you present. If you always respond lightly, people assume lightness is enough. If you never linger in seriousness, others stop trying to reach it. This is how emotional distance forms. Not through conflict, but through avoidance. It is possible to be deeply loved and still not deeply known. That is the cost. When laughter replaces vulnerability, conversations skim the surface. You become skilled at turning depth into entertainment. Stories of pain become anecdotes. Hardships become punchlines. Trauma becomes irony. And while this can be powerful in the right context, it becomes limiting when it is the only context. Because pain processed through humor is not the same as pain processed through reflection. Humor can reframe. Vulnerability transforms. There is also something else that happens. When you constantly deflect seriousness, people may begin to believe you are emotionally invulnerable. They may see you as strong, unshakable, always okay. And strength, when misinterpreted, can become isolation. If others assume you are always fine, they will not check on you deeply. If you appear unaffected, they will not ask what lingers. You become the supporter, not the supported. The listener, not the heard. The stabilizer, not the one who is allowed to destabilize. And after a while, even you may forget how to access your own raw emotions without wrapping them in humor. You may feel something intense and immediately search for a clever way to express it. You may struggle to say something plainly. You may feel exposed when speaking without irony. This is not because you lack depth. It is because you trained yourself to filter depth. There is another danger when laughter replaces vulnerability: resentment. When feelings are consistently unspoken, they do not vanish. They accumulate quietly. Each moment of swallowed truth adds weight. Eventually, that weight looks like irritability, or emotional fatigue, or sudden distance in relationships. You may find yourself thinking, "No one really understands me." But understanding requires exposure. If you never allow someone to see your sadness without a smile attached, they cannot respond to it accurately. Humor can be a bridge, but it can also be a wall disguised as a bridge. The difference lies in intention. Are you using humor to invite someone closer or to keep them at a safe distance? One subtle indicator is discomfort with silence, but if silence feels threatening, humor often rushes in to fill it. Silence is intimate. It asks nothing but presence. For someone used to managing energy, silence can feel like losing control, so the joke arrives quickly. Control is restored, but connection is postponed. Healthy vulnerability does not require dramatic confessions. It does not require emotional breakdowns. It requires moments of honesty without performance. It requires allowing a sentence to exist without softening it. I'm tired. That really affected me. I'm not sure how I feel yet. These are simple sentences. But for someone who hides pain behind humor, they can feel enormous because they remove the mask, even briefly. When laughter replaces vulnerability, emotional growth slows. You may understand your pain intellectually, even joke about it cleverly, but not truly process it. Processing requires feeling. Feeling requires staying. And staying requires courage. This chapter is not about eliminating humor. Humor is a gift. It creates joy. It creates resilience. It can turn darkness into something bearable. But if laughter is the only door you allow people to enter through, they will never see the rest of the house. You deserve to be known beyond your wit. You deserve to be heard without entertaining. You deserve to exist in seriousness without apologizing for it. If you notice that humor consistently replaces honesty in your life, begin gently. You do not need to change overnight. You do not need to abandon what makes you warm and engaging. Simply experiment with allowing one vulnerable moment to remain unedited. Notice what happens. You may discover something surprising. The world does not collapse when you are real. In fact, the right people lean closer, because beneath every laugh is a human being longing to be understood. And understanding begins where performance ends. In the next chapter, we will explore the hidden cost of always being the entertainer, the emotional toll that often goes unnoticed, even by the person carrying it. Chapter 5. The hidden cost of always being the entertainer. Being the entertainer feels powerful. You can shift the mood of a room in seconds. You can dissolve tension with a sentence. You can turn discomfort into laughter. People gravitate toward you. They remember you. They feel lighter around you. From the outside, it looks like a gift. And it is. But every gift, when overused, becomes a burden. The hidden cost of always being the entertainer is not obvious at first. It does not appear as crisis. It appears as fatigue. Emotional fatigue. Because when you are the one who manages energy, you are rarely off duty. You scan the room constantly. You sense awkwardness before others name it. You anticipate conflict before it escalates. And without even realizing it, you take responsibility for the atmosphere. Responsibility is heavy, even when it comes with laughter. Imagine going into every social situation with an unspoken job. Keep things smooth. Keep things light. Keep people comfortable. That is labor, and emotional labor drains quietly. After gatherings, you may feel exhausted in a way you cannot explain. You are laughing, you are talking, you are engaging, and yet when you return home, there is a strange emptiness, because you were performing energy, not necessarily living in it. Another cost is invisibility. When you are known as the strong one, the funny one, the easygoing one, people stop imagining you need help. They assume resilience. They assume stability. They assume you are fine. And you may reinforce that assumption because admitting struggle feels like breaking character. This creates a subtle isolation. You become the person others lean on, but you rarely lean back. When you do express pain, people may respond with surprise. Wow, I didn't know it was that serious. You don't seem like someone who struggles. On the surface, those statements sound like compliments, but underneath, they reveal something deeper. People only know the edited version of you. Over time, this can create identity confusion. You may begin to wonder, do people love me? Or do they love how I make them feel? Do they care about my humor or about my heart? If your value has been reinforced through entertainment, stepping outside that role feels risky. There is a quiet fear that without the jokes, you become ordinary. Without the wit, you become forgettable. But this fear often hides a painful truth. You have not given people the chance to love your full self because you have not fully shown it. There is also the cost of suppressed emotion. When feelings are consistently redirected instead of expressed, they do not disappear. They accumulate. Unprocessed sadness becomes heaviness. Unspoken frustration becomes irritability. Unacknowledged fear becomes anxiety. And because you are skilled at masking discomfort, even you may not immediately recognize what you are feeling. You may simply notice that you feel tired more often, or disconnected, or restless. You may joke about burnout while quietly living it. Another hidden cost is relational imbalance. In friendships or partnerships, if you are always the one bringing levity, others may unconsciously place you in that fixed role. They share their struggles. You comfort them. They vent. You respond with humor and perspective. But when it is your turn to need depth, the dynamic may not feel natural. Not because they do not care, but because the relationship was shaped around your lightness. Patterns become expectations, and expectations become identity cages. There is also something deeper that many entertainers struggle with: the fear of stillness. When you are alone, when the room is quiet, when no one needs you to perform, what remains? For some, stillness brings peace. For others, it brings discomfort. Without laughter as distraction, unprocessed emotions rise. Memories resurface. Doubts grow louder. Questions appear. Who am I when I'm not entertaining? That question can feel destabilizing if your identity has long been built around humor. But here is the paradox. The very sensitivity that made you an excellent entertainer is also what makes you capable of depth. Your ability to read emotional cues means you understand complexity. Your quick wit often reflects intelligence and awareness. Your humor likely emerged from empathy. You sensed pain, yours and others, and found a way to make it lighter. That is strength. The problem is not the strength, it is the imbalance. When one trait becomes dominant, the rest of the personality gets suppressed. You're not just the funny one. You're also thoughtful. You're also reflective. You're also vulnerable. But if those parts are rarely expressed, they begin to feel unfamiliar. The hidden cost of always being the entertainer is that you slowly disappear inside your own role. You remain visible, but partially. Loved, but conditionally, at least in your perception. The shift begins with awareness. Ask yourself gently, when was the last time I allowed someone to comfort me without turning it into a joke? When was the last time I admitted I was overwhelmed without softening it? When was the last time I let silence sit between me and someone else without filling it? These questions are not accusations. They are invitations. Because the goal is not to stop being engaging, the goal is to stop carrying everything alone. You're allowed to be supported. You're allowed to be heavy sometimes. You are allowed to exist without managing the room. Strength is not the absence of vulnerability. True strength is emotional range, the ability to laugh freely and to speak honestly, the ability to bring light and to sit in darkness. If you have been the entertainer for most of your life, stepping outside that role may feel uncomfortable at first. But discomfort is not danger, it is expansion. In the next chapter, we will explore the power hidden inside humor itself, and how it can transform from a shield into a bridge when used consciously rather than defensively. Chapter 6. The strength hidden in humor. After everything we've explored, it would be easy to misunderstand something important. Humor is not the villain. In fact, humor is often one of the most intelligent emotional tools a human being can develop. The same ability that allowed you to survive uncomfortable environments, the same instinct that helped you regulate tension, the same quickness that protected you from shame, is also a sign of strength. The problem is not humor itself. The problem is unconscious humor. When humor is automatic, defensive, and compulsive, it creates distance. But when humor is conscious, intentional, and grounded in truth, it becomes powerful. There is a reason some of the wisest people in history had sharp wit. Humor requires perception. To be funny, you must see patterns others miss. You must understand contrast. You must detect irony. You must read emotional timing. These are not shallow abilities. They are cognitive strengths. Humor is often a reflection of intelligence and emotional awareness. But here is where the shift matters. When humor comes from fear, it protects. When humor comes from confidence, it connects. Healthy humor does not deny pain. It acknowledges it and reframes it. It says, yes, this hurt, but I am larger than this moment. Defensive humor says, this hurt, and I cannot let you see that. The difference lies in emotional ownership. When you own your pain, humor becomes expression. When you hide your pain, humor becomes concealment. Think about the difference between these two statements. I went through a hard time last year. It taught me a lot. I can laugh about parts of it now. Versus, yeah, my life's a mess. What else is new? One reflects processing. The other reflects deflection. One invites connection. The other closes the door. The strength hidden in humor appears when it becomes integrated, not isolated. Integrated humor allows seriousness and lightness to coexist. It allows you to say something real and still smile afterward. It allows you to sit in depth without feeling threatened by it. It allows you to bring warmth without erasing truth. There is also something deeply resilient about humor. Research consistently shows that people who can find meaning or perspective in hardship tend to recover more effectively from stress. Humor can help reframe trauma. It can create distance from overwhelming emotion. It can reduce intensity enough to allow reflection. But the key word is enough. Not completely. If humor reduces intensity so much that the emotion is never felt, it blocks healing. If it reduces intensity just enough to make pain manageable, it supports healing. The distinction is subtle, but it is everything. Humor becomes strength when it is chosen, not when it is reflexive. When you are aware of your impulse to joke and you decide intentionally whether to use it, you are no longer controlled by it. You are using it as a tool. Tools are powerful when held consciously. They become dangerous when used unconsciously. Imagine someone who says, I tend to joke when things get serious. I'm working on that. That awareness alone transforms the pattern. The humor is no longer automatic armor. It becomes part of a broader emotional range. And emotional range is maturity. True emotional strength is not about being serious all the time. It is about flexibility, the ability to move between lightness and depth without losing yourself in either. You can be the person who brings joy into a room and the person who can sit quietly beside someone in pain. You can tell stories that make people laugh and share truths that make them think. You can remain witty and still be real. The goal is not to remove your humor. It is to remove the fear behind it. When fear fades, humor softens. It becomes less sharp, less defensive, less urgent. It becomes warmer, more grounded, more authentic. You may even notice that your humor deepens. Instead of mocking yourself, you may begin laughing at the human condition in a compassionate way. Instead of using sarcasm to express anger indirectly, you may learn to say what you mean clearly, and then smile naturally. The strongest people are not those who suppress pain. They are those who can acknowledge pain without being consumed by it. Humor, when integrated, becomes part of that strength. It becomes a bridge between suffering and wisdom. It becomes a reminder that even in difficulty, there is perspective. But perspective does not replace emotion. It complements it. If you have used humor to survive, honor that. It carried you through moments you might not have handled otherwise. But survival is not the same as thriving. Thriving requires expansion. It requires allowing yourself to experience the full spectrum of emotion: joy and sadness, confidence and doubt, laughter and tears. You do not lose your identity when you expand your emotional range. You refine it. The funny one does not disappear. They evolve. They become someone who laughs freely, not because they are hiding, but because they are whole. In the next chapter, we will explore how to make that transition intentionally, how to remain light without being invisible, and how to practice vulnerability without feeling exposed. Because humor is not something you must abandon. It is something you can transform. Chapter 7. Learning to be real without losing your light. Transformation does not require reinvention. If you have built your identity around humor, you do not need to dismantle it. You do not need to become serious, intense, or heavy to be authentic. You only need to expand. Expansion begins with awareness. Notice your timing. When someone asks a serious question, observe the impulse to joke. Don't suppress it. Just notice it. That impulse is old. It was built for protection. It deserves understanding, not criticism. Then create a pause. The pause is powerful. Before the punchline forms, allow yourself one breath. In that breath, ask a simple question. What am I actually feeling right now? You may discover that underneath the joke is something simple: disappointment, embarrassment, fear, sadness. You don't have to give a long explanation. You don't have to open every wound. Start small. Instead of immediately turning something into humor, try one honest sentence. That comment actually stayed with me. I joke about it, but it was hard. I don't usually talk about this, but it mattered to me. These sentences are not dramatic. They are real, and reality builds intimacy. You might feel exposed at first. That's normal. If your nervous system has long associated vulnerability with risk, your body may react with tension, but discomfort is not danger. The more you allow small moments of honesty, the more your nervous system recalibrates. You begin to learn that being real does not automatically lead to rejection. In fact, something surprising often happens. People lean in, they soften, they open up in return. Because vulnerability is contagious, just like laughter. There is another step in this process: allowing silence. For someone used to managing energy, silence can feel threatening. Silence feels like something must be fixed. Something must be filled. But silence is not failure. Silence is space, and space allows connection to deepen. Next time a conversation grows quiet, resist the urge to rescue it immediately. Let the moment exist. You may notice that others step in differently, or that the conversation naturally moves into depth. Silence teaches you that you do not have to perform to belong. Another important shift is learning to differentiate between humor that connects and humor that protects. Connecting humor often includes yourself and others. It feels warm. It feels shared. Protective humor feels sharp. It arrives quickly. It often follows discomfort. If you notice humor appearing immediately after a vulnerable moment, gently ask yourself, am I sharing or am I hiding? This question is not meant to shame you. It is meant to empower you. Because once you recognize the pattern, you gain choice. You may still decide to joke, but now it is conscious. And consciousness transforms behavior. There is also value in choosing one safe relationship to practice depth. You do not need to open up to everyone. That would feel overwhelming. Choose one person who has shown consistency. One person who listens without judgment. Experiment with honesty in that space. You may discover that being seen feels relieving rather than dangerous. You may discover that the parts of you you feared were too much are actually welcomed. And something else begins to shift. You realize that your value does not depend on keeping others entertained. Your value is inherent. Humor then becomes an accessory, not a requirement. This process also requires self-acceptance. Part of why humor becomes armor is because we fear our unedited selves are insufficient. We fear being boring, too serious, too sensitive. But depth is not boring. Stillness is not weakness. Emotion is not instability. They are dimensions, and you are multidimensional. To be real without losing your light means integrating your humor with your honesty. You can say something vulnerable and still laugh gently afterward. Not to erase it, but to hold it lightly. You can admit fear and still smile at the irony of being human. You can remain playful without using playfulness as camouflage. Over time, your humor may change. It may become less self-critical, less sharp, less urgent. It may feel slower, softer, more intentional. And you may notice something unexpected. When you stop using humor to disappear, your presence becomes stronger. People feel you more. They sense authenticity. Your words carry weight, not just wit. The funny one does not vanish. They mature. They become someone who can bring joy into a room without needing to control it. Someone who can laugh freely without suppressing truth. Someone who can sit in depth without panicking. This is emotional balance, and balance is strength. The journey does not require perfection. You will still joke at times when you feel uncomfortable. You will still default to lightness occasionally. That's okay. Change happens through repetition. Each small, honest moment rewires something inside you. Each time you stay instead of escaping, you build emotional tolerance. Each time you allow yourself to be seen, you dismantle an old belief. The belief that you must earn safety through laughter. You no longer need to earn safety. You create it by being real. In the final chapter, we will explore how to redefine your identity beyond the funny one. How to rewrite the role you have played for so long and step into something more complete. Because you are not just the light in the room, you are the whole person standing inside it. Chapter 8. Rewriting the role. You play. At some point, growth becomes a quiet decision, not a dramatic announcement, not a complete personality shift. Just a decision. A decision to stop living inside a role you never consciously chose. For years, maybe decades, you may have been the funny one. The one who keeps things light, the one who diffuses tension, the one who never seems too affected. That role may have protected you. It may have helped you survive difficult spaces. It may have made you loved. But roles are not identities. They are adaptations, and adaptations can be rewritten. Rewriting the role you play does not mean rejecting your humor. It means detaching your worth from it. There is a powerful shift that happens when you realize, I am funny, but I am not only funny. I am light, but I am not only light. I am strong, but I am not unbreakable. The first step in rewriting your role is awareness of patterns. Notice where you automatically step in to manage a room. Notice when you feel responsible for everyone else's comfort. Notice when silence makes you uneasy. Ask yourself gently, what would happen if I didn't fix this moment? Often, the answer is less catastrophic than you imagine. People adjust. Conversations find their own rhythm. Tension resolves without your intervention. You begin to see that you are not responsible for holding every emotional space together. The second step is redefining strength. For a long time, strength may have meant composure, quick wit, unshakable lightness. But real strength includes emotional honesty. It includes saying, I don't have a joke for this. It includes saying, I need a minute. It includes saying, this matters to me. Strength is not about being unaffected. It is about being integrated. Integrated people do not deny parts of themselves. They allow multiple dimensions to coexist. They can laugh at absurdity and cry at loss. They can be playful and serious. They can entertain and be entertained. When you rewrite your role, you stop over-identifying with one trait. You begin exploring others. Curiosity, depth, reflection, stillness. You may discover parts of yourself that were always present but rarely expressed. Perhaps you enjoy quiet conversations more than you admitted. Perhaps you prefer depth over surface talk. Perhaps you long for connection that goes beyond shared jokes. These preferences were not absent, they were simply overshadowed by performance. There is also something important about boundaries. When you are known as the entertainer, people may expect you to always show up with energy. They may tease you if you are quiet. They may say, "What's wrong?" when you are simply neutral. Rewriting your role means tolerating those reactions. You do not need to over-explain your seriousness. You do not need to justify your silence. You're allowed to exist in different emotional states. Boundaries are not declarations. They are consistent behaviors. When you choose not to perform on command, you teach people how to relate to you differently. Over time, expectations shift. Another crucial part of rewriting your role is self-acceptance. If you secretly believe that your value comes from entertaining others, you will struggle to let go of that role. So you must challenge the belief gently. Ask yourself, if I were not funny, would I still deserve connection? If I were quiet tonight, would I still be worthy of belonging? The answer is yes, but your nervous system may need time to believe it. That is okay. Beliefs built over years do not dissolve in a week. They soften through repeated experiences of being accepted without performance. This is why choosing safe environments matters. In spaces where depth is welcomed, you will find it easier to express it. In relationships where honesty is respected, you will feel safer stepping outside your usual script. Rewriting your role does not mean rejecting your past self. That version of you was intelligent, adaptive, resourceful. Thank that version, but let it evolve. There is freedom in realizing you are not confined to one identity. You can enter a room and choose how you show up. Sometimes you will bring humor. Sometimes you will bring quiet. Sometimes you will bring insight. Sometimes you will bring vulnerability. Choice is freedom. When humor is no longer compulsory, it becomes joyful again. It becomes something you offer, not something you hide behind. You may notice that your laughter feels different, less urgent, less defensive, more grounded. You're not laughing to avoid. You're laughing because you genuinely find something amusing. That difference changes your entire presence. People feel authenticity. They sense calmness. They respond differently. And perhaps most importantly, you feel different inside, lighter. Not because you're covering pain, but because you are no longer carrying the pressure of constant performance. You're allowed to be multi-layered. You're allowed to be complex. You're allowed to be real. The funny one was never the problem. The problem was believing that was all you were allowed to be. When you rewrite the role, you do not lose your light, you expand it. Because true light does not erase shadow, it integrates it. And when laughter and honesty coexist within you, you are no longer hiding, you are whole. There is something deeply beautiful about people who make others laugh. They bring warmth into cold rooms. They soften heavy moments. They remind us not to take everything too seriously. If you see yourself in this story, if you have been the one who turns pain into punchlines, who hides discomfort behind wit, who carries light so others don't have to sit in darkness, I want to say something clearly. There is nothing weak about you. In fact, there is something incredibly strong about the way you adapted. At some point in your life, humor was not just entertainment. It was protection. It was intelligence. It was survival. You learned how to read the room. You learned how to diffuse tension. You learned how to protect yourself from shame before it arrived. That is not something to criticize. It is something to understand. But understanding creates a new opportunity. Because what protected you then may not be what fulfills you now. There is a quiet loneliness that can grow inside people who are always the light. A loneliness that whispers, "If I stopped performing, would anyone stay?" Maybe you've felt that. Maybe you've had nights where you were surrounded by laughter, yet felt strangely unseen. Maybe you've joked about your struggles while secretly wishing someone would pause and say, "No, really. Are you okay?" I believe this. You deserve to be known beyond your humor. You deserve to have someone sit with your seriousness without trying to fix it. You deserve to be listened to without needing to entertain first. You deserve to exist in your full emotional range. Humor is not the enemy, but invisibility is. And invisibility often hides inside constant performance. From my perspective, real strength is not about being the funniest person in the room. It is not about never being affected. It is not about always having the perfect comeback. Real strength is emotional honesty. It is the ability to say, "That hurt." It is the courage to admit, "I don't have a joke for this." It is the maturity to sit in silence without panicking. If you have spent years building an identity around being the entertainer, change may feel uncomfortable. You may worry that people won't recognize you, that the energy will shift, that you'll lose your place. But here is what I have seen again and again. When someone who is always light allows even a small moment of truth, the room doesn't reject them. The room respects them. The right people lean closer. The connection deepens. Because authenticity creates gravity. It draws people in. You don't have to abandon your humor to be authentic. You just have to stop using it as your only language. Let humor be part of you, not all of you. Let your laughter coexist with your depth. Let your wit sit beside your honesty. You are not meant to live as a single note. You're meant to be layered. And maybe the most powerful transformation is this. You no longer feel the need to earn safety through laughter. You no longer feel responsible for fixing every silence. You no longer feel pressured to keep everyone comfortable at the expense of your own truth. You can still walk into a room and bring warmth, but you can also walk into a room and simply be. No performance, no mask, just presence. If you take anything from this conversation, let it be this. You don't have to stop being funny. You just have to stop being invisible inside your own laughter. Allow one person to see you without the punchline. Allow one conversation to remain serious. Allow yourself one moment where you don't fix the mood. And notice that the world doesn't fall apart. Because the version of you beneath the humor is not too much. It is not too heavy. It is not too fragile. It is human. And being human, fully, honestly, vulnerably human, is far more powerful than any performance. You were never just the funny one. You were always more. And now, you get to live like it.